Hi, everybody. It's me, Jackie Clayton, one of the editors over at Recruiting Daily, joined here with Tim Sackett. As you know, on Recruiting Live, friendly reminder, this is not scripted. This is conversations, and we answer the questions that you ask. So put them there down into the question box. We'll make sure we get those answered. If we can't get them answered, we will send them over to Tim Sackett and make him answer them. Um, you can do it here. You can also tweet it out with the hashtag RDaily. And Tim is here, so I'm just going to jump right into it. So hi, Tim Sackett.
Jackie,
How are
how's it
you
going?
doing?
I'm doing well.
Well, now I've known you. I found an email, and it said, Tim Sackett will find you a job no matter what, guaranteed, from like 2013, I think.
Really?
Yeah, it was random. I was like, I know I've been talking to him for a long time and following him. I didn't know. I was checking to see. But for those who may not know you, why don't you tell them what you do? I don't think anybody knows besides Tim Sackett Project.
Yeah, my wife tries to explain that to everybody too. So I actually run an IT engineering staffing firm out of Michigan. We're headquartered out of Michigan. It's 97% of our revenue is done through like contract consultants, contractor types. So not a lot of like direct sourcing. We try to keep it on the contract side. We have contractors right now in about 18 different states. We kind of focus more on like the engineering and IT side from the manufacturing environment versus some of the other stuff, but we also do the other stuff. I mean, we have people at like Michigan State University and different places like that. But so that's the day job. That's the real job, and I've been doing that the last 8 years. And then I have this other full-time job, which is writing for my blog, writing for Fistful of Talent, speaking, webinars, getting to spend time with you, stuff like that, and then going to conferences. I do a few of those.
Dude, I was cracking up. We saw each other for the first time and then saw each other like 2 weeks later at conferences. And I know a lot of people ask, now you wrote an article last week talking about the sweet life, how you know what level influence you are based on the hotel room. That was great. So
so that all came from like we were both at the HireVue conference, right? And so little side story, I brought my wife with me. It's in Park City, Utah, a great conference. The content at Digital Disruption, HireVue's user conference, is off the hook. It's one of the best ones in terms of just straight great content, session after session after session. And they have it at the Stein Eriksen Lodge in Park City, which is a beautiful place. And it's in the summer, so it's like a great time to be in the mountains. My wife and I will be married 25 years next week on Tuesday. And so I said, hey, honey, do you want to go to Utah? Because I have a room. Like, you might as well just come along. And so she came out. We had a great time, spent a few extra days. Well, so we get into our hotel room, beautiful room, nice room, normal hotel room, has a fireplace. Like, hey, this is romantic, great. Jerry Crispin shows up, and we have lunch with him, and he has a 4-room suite for himself. And I'm like, I got my wife. It's our 25th wedding anniversary. And so it's funny how these companies play this game with like how much influence you have and how great a room they get. And so it sparked me to write this entire post on, hey, if you're a level 5 Jerry Crispin influencer, you get the 4-bedroom suite with a breakfast nook and 4 bathrooms and 2 fireplaces. And if you're a level 1, you're basically paying your own way to go to a conference and staying with a friend to split cost or sleeping on someone's couch. And then in between, there's all those different levels.
Yes, that cracked me up. Well, I mean, obviously you're an influencer. You get invited to a million conferences. So we just kind of went over this offline, but can you tell everybody the conferences you've been at this spring?
So this spring I went to WorkHuman, Ultimate, HireVue. I was keynote at Alabama SHRM, Halogen, Saba, SHRM Talent, Cleveland Staffing, SHRM. So those are just some of the ones that I hit that are actual conferences, and then there's other speaking gigs in between there. So.
Well, which one did you think, just between us?
Yeah.
Which was your favorite, like as far as content? Where was the conference you felt like you learned something?
Well, the HireVue content is great, right? So I'll say that one, right? From beginning to end, every segment, I think they do a really good job of actually delivering some really great content. and talking about real things that companies are facing. Work Human is a different conference altogether. Like, to me, when you go to a conference for like HR or TA, you're going there to really want to bring stuff back for your company, right? So hey, I'm going to come back and next week we're going to do all these great things I learned. Work Human is all about you as an HR person, right? So I want to come and just recharge my batteries and focus on me individually. So I love that conference because same thing, like you come back feeling like more motivated, more energized. You don't really bring back anything for your company necessarily. I mean, there is things there, but there's so much just for you personally. Like, I think that conference has the ability to really explode and become giant because it caters to the same audience as SHRM National, but it gives you so much more individually for your own development. So I love that.
I feel like it's the SHRM version of Burning Man.
Go ahead. What?
The SHRM version of Burning Man conference, Work Human.
No, it has a little hippie save the world, tree hugging to it. There's no doubt. I mean, you got to go there with the right mindset. That you're want to focus for yourself, and you like to eat good, and you're gonna, tomorrow's the day I'm starting my diet, and I'm gonna do yoga every day, and all that good stuff. Like, but it's very kind of, I would say it's more female gender specific, right? Just in terms of what happens. But I love it. I love what they're doing with it. I don't know if I would go and necessarily send my entire team to it or whatever. I think I would have to pick and choose, like, hey, you need a good recharge, and you need this, and you need that. But it's completely different than any other conference that's out there.
For sure. So what do you think, oh, I have a question here from Marvin Smith. How do you choose the conferences based on your voice in the recruiting community? So I think, which do you decide the conferences, or the conferences choose you?
It's a little of both, right? So I get paid to go to conferences, so that's part of it. Like, but then for my own self, like, there's other conferences that I'll reach out to because I do want to go to those conferences. Like a lot of the tech conferences, I'm going to South Africa to HR Tech Fest. I go to HR Technology. I do the SHRM Talent. People laugh at SHRM Talent because they think SHRM Talent's like SHRM National. SHRM Talent actually is really good if you're after like a corporate talent acquisition audience. I mean, there's 2,500 people there, most of which are actual corporate talent acquisition pros. So I love being a part of that audience. So there's a combination. Some I'm going because they're saying, hey, we want you to cover this and be an influencer, and we're going to kind of foot the bill. So it's hard for me to turn off a free conference. That's just silly, right? Because I bring something back from all of it. And then some of it is, the other half of it is conferences where I'm going to bring back, I think, information my audience wants to hear about. Right. So let's talk about TA technology, let's talk about sourcing, let's talk about all this different kinds of stuff. And then there's some conferences out there that just don't play the game, and they'll say, hey, if you want to come, great, here's how much it costs. Like, we'd love to have you. And I'm like, probably not at that. I'm not at that level anymore. I'm not level 5 Jerry Crispin, but I'm like, come on, I'm not paying my way to come to your conference.
Well, Marvin said, if you wore a hat and grew a beard, would you get a better room?
Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah. So I think the big beard thing is key. So whether you're Jerry Crispin, Bill Borman, William Tin Cup, like, I'm thinking I might be next year. You might have this red beard like down to here, and I'll shave my head, and I'll be getting all kinds of free stuff.
You're right. Now that I think about it, you're right. You might. Now, Michael Townsend, thank you for being here. He said, what conferences do you send, or would you send your people to?
Well, I think the user conferences nowadays are getting really, really good. So I would have to know what my tech stack is. So like when I went to Ultimate Software's conference, you're probably not going to go there unless you're an Ultimate user or you're looking at bringing Ultimate in. But holy crap, they had some really good content there as well. And so some of the stuff that I actually learned out there, was really good. Plus, I got to see Maroon 5, and like I got a video of me and the band 3 inches away. So no, some of the user conferences are off the hook, and they're pretty good. So I would know my tech stack because what I want to have is my team to be super users of whatever tech we have. I want us to be like the poster child for that company, because I truly think like if you're using your tech to its most advantage, you're going to be better than most companies. And then from there, I guess I'm looking at the skill development that I need. So if I need, my team needs sourcing help, I'm probably going to go out to SourceCon or, depending on, I got to take a look at everything. So it's dependent upon the need.
I mean, they're all really different. I mean, some of them focus on technology or skills or tips, and some of them, it's almost like one big, party the whole time and different content. But I think that there was a lot. We're seeing a lot of changes in the industry with the conferences, and some of the stuff I know when we were at HireVue, learned some stuff. We were like, what? Just stuff that we never heard of that were, we
got to give a shout out to Kansas City Children's Hospital, right? That team there.
Yes.
When they were doing, so they do video interviewing. It's HireVue conference, right? But they actually had the actual patients, the sick kids, asking applicants the questions, right? And so to me, that was like mind blowing, like that you came up with that idea. And to me, what it kind of it just showed me that at a ground level, you can still make a huge impact at what you do to your culture, to your brand, from a branding standpoint, if you just use what's around you. And we keep thinking, oh, we want to be Google. You're never going to be Google. They're a unicorn. You're not. Stop it. But Kansas City Children's blew it out of the water just being them, just using what they have.
Everyone was like, I want to work there. I want to work there. Not even in the medical field. They just wanted to go work there in Kansas City, no less. And it was important to remember too, because everyone is buying. Both of us love technology, but they were like, we didn't have any money, so we used what we had, and it was phenomenal. What they did was great, And speaking of technology, I want to go over here. Ryan Schmall, thank you for being here. Said, AI seems to be the new hot thing in recruiting. Would love to hear your thoughts on it.
I think most companies still are trying to figure out how to use it. So I think that's difficult, but I do think top of funnel, when you take a look at sourcing, screening, so all those activities that we do kind of before interview, I think AI can have a huge impact for a really low cost. And so does it mean we're going to start eliminating positions? It could, right? Because if you have a big team that's just kind of fat and happy on the TA side, if you bring in some AI, you could probably lose some heads. If you're growing really fast, before you add somebody, you should be looking at this technology, because I think it can eliminate a ton of work that your team's doing. I was just meeting with a Fortune 500, like really big TA leader yesterday, and she's like, we're changing our entire process in sourcing because this technology now does most of the heavy lifting and sourcing for us. I don't need this gigantic sourcing team anymore. So all of a sudden, she's trying to shift and figure out how to use those bodies in a different way. And a lot of it's, making better personal connections with candidates and nurturing, kind of going back and taking a look at some of those classic kind of marketing things that we're doing. I think that part of AI is going to have a huge impact to how we do business over the next 3 years within talent acquisition. And so I'm a big fan of that. And I played with a lot of the chat bots and tried to break them, knowing that it's a bot. I'm going to ask it crazy questions and do different things. But the reality is most of your applicants have no idea that it's an actual bot, right? I mean, so it could be, hey, it's Jackie, and I'm going to ask a question. Okay, well, how long will it take me to hear back? It'll probably be a week or two, stuff like that. Like, I mean, that stuff is just awesome. So I think it has a really good impact to the organization. I don't see a negative of that right now. I mean, people talk about different things, but I still love it. I love the AI tech that's out there.
Well, and Josh Person said something that was great when he was referring to how in the banking world, when we got ATMs, the people within the bank were panicked. We're not going to need tellers, but they actually increased the amount, started making more money, people got their skills, and that I never thought about that. That was a great example of how it can actually help the industry and not hurt it.
Yeah, I don't see it like a driverless truck thing, right? Like you go, oh, we're going to have these trucks that, go by themselves and it's going to eliminate all these truck drivers. And you're like, Yeah, but we'll figure out something else that those people need to do, right? So it's here or there.
Um, and Marvin, he's your biggest fan. He had something else that he wanted to say, and I appreciate you so much. But he said, how do you do it? You write remarkable articles with an interesting perspective and seemingly do it with ease. What's your secret to success?
I shop all of my content out to India, like for like 20 cents on a dollar. Like you can buy like an Indian guy that will write all that stuff. No, I'm just kidding. I don't. So I found so I've been writing about 9 years. Chris Dunn, shout out to him in Fistful of Talent because he got me into this. And I think Chris and I are very similar in our personalities. And what we knew, we didn't even know we had this skill until somebody said, "Hey, write me a 500-word blog post." And you go, "Okay, well, what topic?" And you go, "Oh, AI," and boom. In 10 minutes, I could write a blog post right now for AI and have it up in 15 minutes on my blog. And I thought that was everybody. Like I just assumed that everybody had that skill. And I come to find out that people don't. So I can't sit there and say, oh my gosh, it's so easy, because it's just a skill that I think I have innately to be able to take one idea, one concept, and craft it into a 500-word post. Now, if you read my stuff, obviously I don't take a lot of time to actually edit it because my grammar is horrible. Lori Rudiman actually bought me Grammarly for a gift for Christmas. Because she got so sick and tired of reading my stuff. And still I had a guy yesterday that had a PhD that reached out to me and said that every single post I have has spelling errors in it. And I started to laugh. And I'm like, can you be more specific? And his whole thing, like he had this pet peeve with, I always say, oh, well, the communications team is going to take care of that. And he goes, there's no communications with an S, it's communication. The communication team will take care of that. And I was like, every time you write communications, it drives me crazy. I'm like, oh, okay, sorry. Stop reading, please. Yeah.
That's delete. Next page, delete. Just take it out.
But I do. It's not. So I think I have a knack for writing very quickly and throwing stuff out there. I also don't judge I will get people that will be really pissed off at me and send me emails that says, I can't believe that you wrote this and you believe this. And I was like, oh my gosh, I think maybe I said something I shouldn't have. And I'll go read it and I go, yeah, I don't believe that either. But when you write it, you just write it, right? It's an idea, you put it out there, you challenge the reader, and then you move on to the next one. And when you're writing every single day for 7 years, like I have, there's a lot of the stuff I'll go back and read and go, man, I can't believe I wrote that. I don't believe that at all. But at the time, at that minute I wrote it, I probably did. But I never go back and question. And that was, again, Chris kind of said, hey, write it, boom, publish, and then move on. Get to the next one.
Matt Charney taught me that lesson. It was the most important lesson I ever learned. He was like, you write it, you hit enter, and you give it to the universe and let it do with it what it will.
Because it's, it is. That's all you can do. And I have a lot of people that want to blog and they're like, Tim, I want to do what you do. And I'll say, okay, hey, send me a couple of blog posts, 500 words. And 2 weeks later, they'll come, well, I'll send, and they say, here's one. And I'm like, yeah, you can't blog. You should be able to send me that thing in an hour,
That's right. That's right. Well, it's another friendly reminder because it's only 30 minutes and it always goes quickly. We have about 12 more minutes. If you have questions, do put them down here in the box and we'll make sure and get to those and also put them out on with the hashtag #OurDailyOut on Twitter. We appreciate that. We like that. Michael Townsend said, Tim, your grammar is just Michigan talk. Hashtag pure Michigan.
Yeah, for sure. Because Indiana does it so much better, Mike.
Well, now, let me see. What do you think the major takeaway that you've gotten? If you could, we've talked a little bit about the conferences, which one you'd send your people to, but what do you think? Has there been anything that's been truly disruptive? I know you talked about the hospital. That was really different. But, what?
Yeah, I think how companies are beginning to use the analytical data they have, right? So when I went to Ultimate, they have embedded within their system a predictive turnover kind of engine, right? So they take across the system, they'll take a look at all the data they have. They actually do language analysis of emails. It's big brother scary stuff, right? But the reality is the data they're coming back is they're being able to predict turnover before it happens at a really, really high rate. Like, I mean, exceptionally high. So every organization is struggling with turnover. And so if you were to go to an organization and go to the leaders and say, hey, I'm going to tell you who's going to leave the organization 90 days ahead of time, would you find that valuable? And I mean, and it's like mind-blowing kind of stuff, because people start to do things before they begin to leave, right? The language becomes a little more negative in how they work and communicate with each other. They'll start to change their LinkedIn profile, some of the basic things that happen. And then, you know, they'll start to look into their insurance. Like, there's behaviors that happen, right? And so when you build that algorithm out, Ultimate, you know, has found that, you know, hey, we came up with a model that we can predict with a really high accuracy rate somebody that's going to be ready to leave, or potentially will leave, that, you know, than somebody else. And so, you know, once it hits a certain level, red flag comes up, HR, the hiring manager, saying, hey, you might want to go talk to Tim, and here's some things you should actually maybe talk about, and here's some things you might want to do. And so it becomes predictive and prescriptive all at the same time. To me, I think that stuff is the future of HR, and we're going to see it on the talent acquisition side as well. We already kind of start to see some of that technology telling us, hey, you have 500 people that applied for a job. Here's the 5, right, that you should be talking to. Versus what normally still happens today in most companies is first in, first out. Here, the first 5 people that apply, we're going to get on them, boom, boom, boom. We start interviewing them. We send over 3 or 4 to the manager, and we're like, that job's done. And then the three best candidates applied the next day, and you never even looked at them. Like, that's just, you know, some of that stuff is easily changed through, I think, great technology.
Well, and Karen Wheeler had asked, and that's because you gave a great example about, can you give more specific examples to how AI used in recruiting support functions? I think that's one of those. But is there any other specific examples that you can kind of give us?
You know, yeah, I think, you know, there's a lot of that is just kind of automatic, where you're having AI built into either on the front side of an ATS or within an ATS environment that will pretty much do all the sourcing. So as soon as you put a job posting up, it's already going to go out. It's going to take a look internally at your own database. It's going to take a look at every, you know, kind of database that you have access to. It's going to take a look at the overall social footprint across the web, and it's going to bring back to you a list of, hey, here's individuals, you know, that you should look at. Oh, by the way, these top 10 based on association, we've already actually reached out to with a text and an email. And then also the AI can take it one more step and say, they said they were interested, so we asked them some screening questions, and now we brought that back to you as well. Like, just by putting in a job description, that's all going to take place automatically. So you come in the next day as a recruiter, and you're like, I already have 3 candidates who are interested, been vetted, you know, at a certain level. It's a low level, but now I know how to spend my time and be much more directed. To me, on the TA side, you know, that one is huge. Scheduling interviews, actually, you know, making this a recruiter's job easier. So like, there's Canvas is a new one that's out for in terms of text kind of screening, where you know, a candidate will come back and say, oh my gosh, yeah, I'm interested. Do you have more information? And the AI automatically will update and put into a text the job description, a video of the culture, whatever you guys just, you know, what you want to do. And so you're just clicking. So you can actually have 4 or 5 conversations with candidates going on at the same time. And the AI is doing a lot of the heavy lifting of the response that you're supposed to give. And you just make sure you validate it, boom, go.
You know, I love Canvas. Funny story, which will lead into my next question. So I did a demo. Before I write about a product on recruiting tools, I make sure I do a demo. So I'm doing the demo, and they kept talking about millennials and how it makes sense for millennials. They just kept going on. And he said, what do you think about the product? And I was like, well, I don't even know if my opinion matters to you, because I'm not a millennial, so I don't know if I'm supposed to like it or not. I was like, I don't take it personal, except for after 30 times. It's like, damn, dude, you don't even want me.
Well, and all the data, and even the data, I talked with them as well and did a demo. I said they're so stuck on that because they think, well, everybody wants to recruit millennials, so let's. Somebody in marketing said, hey, you got to say millennials 5,000 times in this demo, or it's not going to work. The reality is that the actual percentage of people who prefer text over phone call, the millennial, Gen X, and baby boom was almost exactly the same. Yeah. Until you got traditional, where you're talking about people that are 70 and older, then they wanted a phone call. They didn't want a text. Like everybody else preferred text. So I'm like, why are you talking about just millennial? But you know, it's that marketing millennial solution thing.
They changed it. They changed it right away. I saw I didn't have but I do like the product. But it kind of reminds me of some of the bias stuff that we were seeing at the conferences. I know we talked a little bit about it for on Fistful of Talent for your smash ups. But what are you seeing? And your opinion. I love asking questions I already know the answer to. So tell me, what do you think about the latest technology that eliminates bias through artificial intelligence?
So it's mostly bullshit, right? So I mean, every tech has built-in bias. Now, eventually, no matter where you go in the organization, the bias is going to come out. So you can have tech that, from a screening standpoint, that says, oh, the technology could care less if it's female, if it's this, if it's this. But then when you dig into the algorithm, and because they go, oh, it's machine learning, the algorithm's going to get better the more you use it. Well, so let's say you're a hiring manager, and even though that the sourcing tool is only bringing back bringing back a full diverse slate of candidates, as a hiring manager, you're still only hiring the white guys. That algorithm is going to learn that you prefer white guys and will adjust and start bringing you back more white guys. So there's a problem within that just whole concept of, hey, it's not going to matter, you know, because it eliminates bias. Well, if you have a machine learning algorithm, it's going to learn bias. So you have to be careful with that. But I do think, you know, if you have a problem with that in your organization, and technology is going to help you eliminate, you know, whatever that might be. But at the end of the day, the technology is not making the ultimate last hire. So somewhere along the line, if you have a bias in your organization, you have to face it head on. You can't just let technology try to eliminate it, because it never will. It'll still crop up eventually.
Well, and you can't there's no technology that's going to prevent people from being an asshole.
Yeah.
Right? Not who's technology. But as a middle-aged white guy, do you find it like, how does it feel, just curious, how does it feel now that people are being so, like, really, it's like, don't talk, your opinion doesn't matter.
Yeah. So I did a SHRM at SHRM Talent. I did a diversity presentation on how to hire more diversity, right? Which was I stripped away kind of the bullshit diversity stuff, because I didn't want to sit there and talk about branding and having the United Benetton colors, a picture on the front with the one Asian person and the dude in the wheelchair and the old guy with the cane, and you know, all that crap that's meaningless and makes no. I mean, it's so awful. And so I really talked about like how you go after measurement pools and create better diversity. And some of the comments have come back, like, I think Tim drank before he started this presentation. Like, I mean, it was so, I mean, like, literally just came right after me. And I've said, like, you know what, I'm no longer doing any, as a white guy, I just can't talk about diversity because I have too much privilege and I'm too white or whatever it might be. I don't care. No one's going to listen to me. I got skewered on that. But it's the same thing. Chris Dunn makes fun of me because he keeps telling me I'm the last white guy in the world trying to get a VP of diversity title at some major company. That'll never happen. And there's stories behind all that. But yeah, it's one of those things, you know, happens.
I just think it's funny, and I think people need to get real about that. And Tom Bolt brought this out. He said, that's the most profound statement I've heard in a while. Machine learning is going to learn the bias of the teacher. Damn. I don't know if he did his head like that, but he had exclamation points.
They don't tell you that in the demo.
They sure don't. I mean, that's the thing that we were explaining with some of this machine learning and the way that it goes with the technology. It's only as great as the person who puts it in there, and you don't know what the bias is. And let's just see, we have some guerrilla recruiter programmer out there, and they make it so that everybody you hire is someone of a Native American descent. They just have been able to do the algorithms, find the candidates, and you wouldn't even know because you're just picking the best 3 that the software told you. You know, it's like, gosh, we've only been hiring black women for the last 5 years. What is that? I don't know. Jackie, you created the software, but I didn't do that. The machine did it.
The machine did it.
Well, we only have 1 more minute, but what do you think? What would you tell somebody who is like looking for a conference to go to, you know, on both sides? One being the 2-year recruiter and one being the 10+ year recruiter. Is there a particular conference you recommend in that respect?
No, I mean, I think you have to talk to the people who went, right? So it's easy in the social community that we have is to ask questions because you're going to get people and find out what they went there for and what, and again, figure out first why you want to go to a conference, like what do you want to get out of it, and then ask the community and they'll tell you which is the best one to go to. Too often, I think people are like, oh, well, everybody, like I gave the story, everyone's going to HR Tech. Well, I love HR Tech. It's my favorite conference of the year to go to. But I go because I want to go and talk to every one of these new tech companies and see what they have. And if that's not what you want, then HR Tech probably won't be a great conference for you from a content perspective. So you got to figure that out, I think, from that standpoint. Everyone has their own kind of thing that they're trying to get out of it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm going to say lastly with Michael Townsend, and I agree with this. He said anybody, if they have experience, can talk about diversity. Maybe that should be our podcast. Would just be Ask the White Guy. There is a great website, by the way, called Ask the White Guy, and he's a guy who writes about diversity, and he's got some great stuff in there. So maybe you'll be the new white guy. But yeah. I care about what I care.
I think Joe Gerstad probably has a better concept of diversity than I do as a white guy. So.
Right. Well, in any case, I appreciate everybody being here. Michael Townsend, Tom Volk, Karen Wheeler, and Ryan Schmall, Marvin Smith. Thank you so much for your questions. This is going to be recorded. Again, if you have any last-minute questions, you have about 30 seconds to throw them in there. We'll make sure Tim gets them. But I appreciate you. I really do. I'm so glad that we did this.
Thanks for having me on. I loved it. Yeah.
You're welcome. And see you guys next week. Bye. Awesome.